hasn't been tested and maybe has some promise and maybe gets wrapped up in the hype and maybe gets a little nervous.
Credit to him, all this other stuff. And it took some politics to keep Davis as champion. You ever see guys getting to referee their own fight?
Gervonta "Tank" Davis is one of the most overrated fighters in the sport of boxing right now, and not because of his skills, but because of his resume, and resume does matter.
Joe Rogan blasts the idea of him being overrated and questions his credibility. He argues that a true champion doesn't back down in tough moments and must consistently prove their dominance. Rogan believes Davis has yet to face real adversity, and that his reputation is undeserved.
Everybody saw it. You can't get around what everybody saw. Look, it wasn't a legit knockdown like he hurt Tank. Tank did have some in his eyes, but what are you doing putting in your hair when you have a world title fight? That's crazy.
And no one want to hear about it in the middle of a fight. That no one cares. If a fly by, drop the ball, bro.
Right.
Drop the damn ball. We don't care if a fly flew by your helmet or your eyes.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck about that.
You can't be a championship fighter and taking a knee and putting on those type of performances.
Also, what are they putting in his hair? That when he's sweating, it is dripping into his eyes. Like, what is that?
Yeah.
Bro, shave your head.
Weird, right? Yeah, exactly.
Shave your head. Who cares?
Like, don't be pretty boy. You better go get this fight.
Get those braids out of there. Yeah. You don't need those.
Yeah.
He's a good-looking guy. He doesn't need all that crazy braids and shit.
Yeah.
One of the main criticisms of Gervonta Davis is the caliber of his opponents. Many boxing analysts claim that his team strategically picks fighters who pose less of a threat, ensuring that Davis is always in a favorable position.
Shakur Stevenson would beat him in a close decision, and it would end up probably being a boring fight. But I think Shakur has the skills to beat Tank Davis over a long 12-round fight. Now we have Subriel Matias, who's a scary Terminator-like fighter who gives up the early rounds to come on later and drown you in those later rounds. But he's very stiff and he doesn't have very good footwork at all. I think Tank Davis will probably, box his face off for most of the 12 rounds. There might be some trouble in the late rounds. But if Tank can stay out of trouble, I think this is one of the few champions that he would beat, but I don't think he would fight him. Now we have Pitbull Cruz, who Tank already beat by a close decision, and Tank beat him with a broken hand.
Gervonta Davis has faced criticism for steering clear of top-tier opponents, leading to doubts about whether he's truly being tested at the highest level. A key example is his continued avoidance of Shakur Stevenson, a highly skilled and dangerous fighter. Fans have been calling for this matchup for years, but Davis has yet to take the challenge, fueling accusations that he is ducking real competition.
Pitbull Cruz only had 2 weeks to prepare for this fight. I think in the rematch, Tank would take a lot more punishment and even has the potential of being beat. If Tank's not perfect for those 12 rounds, I think Pitbull Cruz wins because he's been looking a lot better since their fight and has impressed me very, very much. Now we got Devin Haney. Devin Haney is very impressive. He really has everything. He has the defensive skills, the offensive skills. He's really showing his power and strength at 140 pounds. And even though Tank has the power, right, the only guy to really give Haney trouble is a guy like Lomachenko, a southpaw with really good footwork and boxing skills. Tank Davis is not Lomachenko. So I think Devin Haney beats Gervonta "Tank" Davis pretty soundly and pretty easily, as long as he doesn't get caught with something crazy. Now we have Teofimo Lopez, the first guy to really beat Lomachenko and look very impressive doing it. Not only has he beat Lomachenko, but he also beat Josh Taylor, the former unified champion. Both very impressive victories, and even though he's been kind of inconsistent and doesn't fight as good when he fights lesser opponents, I think he has all the skills he needs to beat Tank Davis. He has the speed, athleticism, the counters, the blocks, everything you would need to beat Tank, right? So I have Teofimo above Tank as well. If Tank wants to be great, he's going to have to fight one of these guys. And Frank Martin isn't really going to do much for his stock. He's got to beat another champion.
Davis has often been accused of cherry-picking opponents to protect his undefeated record. These criticisms grew stronger after his fight with Lamont Roach Jr., where many felt Davis's weaknesses were finally revealed. The match ended in a majority draw, and Roach's impressive resilience and skill led fans to question the narrative surrounding Davis. Critics argue that if Davis were truly an elite fighter, he would have dominated Roach rather than struggling to secure a clear victory.
That fight with Tank and Lamont Roach shows y'all how protected Tank has been for the past several years. And the people saying, oh, Tank know Lamont and he been respected Lamont because they fought in the amateurs. Man, he was cherry picking Lamont, and really thought he was going to get that win. But Lamont wasn't coming to play around. He stood his ground and fought back. And to be honest, he won the fight. The rematch is going to be a knockout.
Boxing analyst Smith strongly criticized Davis for opting to fight Lamont Roach, a much smaller and lighter opponent. He argued that if Davis is as talented as many claim, he should have easily dominated someone like Roach. Instead, Davis barely managed to survive in their first encounter, leading Smith to conclude that Davis is overrated. According to Smith, this performance suggests that Davis may not be as great as his supporters believe. If he struggles against Roach, Smith questions how he would fare against top-tier fighters.
Gervonta's a smart dude, bro, and he said you really should have waited.
No, you should have waited. You should have waited for a little bit more time. You stuck your head out there a little too soon.
And he was right. He was absolutely positively right.
Oh, left uppercut.
And so now here we are, him fighting this cat Roach, and I'm like, isn't this dude a like junior lightweight?
Super featherweight, moving up to lightweight. Yeah.
No, that bothers me. The reason why that bothers me is because Gervonta is too great and too skilled to be fighting dudes smaller than him. Gervonta Davis can knock out welterweights. He probably could knock out a couple of middleweights. Why are you fighting somebody smaller? Only time I approve great champions fighting smaller guys is when you're not known for your power. You're basically using your superior skill set and showing against a smaller, quicker guy that skills don't dissipate.
In boxing, the term prize fighter is used to describe those who prioritize money over their legacy. Some critics argue that Davis embodies this mindset, focusing more on securing lucrative paydays than on facing top-tier opponents to build a legendary career. By selecting safer fights, Davis ensures financial success, but risks losing credibility among hardcore boxing fans. Critics contend that this approach undermines the sport's competitive integrity and prevents true champions from rising to the top.